Back to another episode of the Casey Campbell podcast. Casey Campbell with you, of course. Pleased to be joined by one of the Team USA finalists. Of course, we had William Ferguson on about a month ago. Now we have Elliott Budzinski, of course, from Ann Arbor, Michigan. Of course, William, and of course, the other one, Thomas Scrange, were, of course, the finalists for the Team USA scholarship. Of course, they were out in England for a good solid 2 months, maybe. And then competing in a bunch of stuff. How's it going, buddy?
It's going good. I think finally having time to settle down at home.
Yeah, this
been a bit hectic.
A lot of people that don't know, this has been in the works for, oh God, I don't even know, months.
Yeah.
We're finally trying to get this together. We're still trying to set up something with Thomas too. So
yeah,
we'll see what that brings as well. All right, buddy. How do you think it went for you?
I don't want to say I think it went quite well. I think the whole point of the Team USA scholarship is to bring us out of our comfort zone. And I don't although I'm certainly not the most happy with how brands went, and I think things could have gotten better at Silverstone, but it was there to go and learn, get out of our comfort zones and kind of make mistakes. Obviously that's not the goal, but if you're going to make mistakes, to learn from them and really just kind of branch out into something that none of us have done before. And I think in that sense, it went really well.
Yeah. I think the three of you had some good moments, but you also had some moments that you would want to forget. So it's like not one stood out or not one did really, really bad. You guys all had you guys all had good moments, and you guys all had bad moments too.
Yeah. I think I think for me, the Walter Hayes was like the most emotional roller coaster, right? Just because it was pole position for the heat, and then immediately hit out in the first 2 laps of semi. I think part of that was a good amount of it was my fault, but it was an emotional roller coaster throughout the whole weekend.
Sure.
So
kind of talk about we know how that went, and I know let's talk about some of the experiences that you got to do, and you got to do a lot of stuff outside of racing. Talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, so I think there were a couple weeks between all the racing and testing. So we did the Walter Hayes Trophy, the Formula Ford Festival, and a couple of club races, but we also did a lot of testing. And so there were I would say there was a 2-week window where we actually had time to go and do stuff. But in that window, we ended up going to McLaren for a factory tour, Haas, Ilmor Engines, Multimatic. And then William and I ended up being able to go to the GB3 race at Donington Park, which was also with, I think, British GT Championship, and then the British Touring Car Championship at Brands Hatch. So it was quite hectic, but it was so cool getting to see how, for example, with McLaren, how big of an operation and the scale that actually goes into things, or with, let's say, Ilmor Engines, just how every little piece of the puzzle goes together. Because as a driver, obviously you sometimes forget that you're part of something bigger, and so kind of getting to see that was really cool, especially at the top level of motorsports.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about you. Let's talk about your background. How did you get into racing?
So I got into racing, funny enough, from a neighbor who essentially, my dad has been, a motorsports fan his whole life. So he grew up watching Formula One and IndyCar. But he was never really into racing, and kind of, I think someone a couple doors down from us said, "Hey, there's this track in Jackson." And my dad said, "Oh, that's cool." So, my brother and I went there when I was probably 6 years old and he was 10 years old, and did a little bit of the rental carts there. And from then on, it just kind of kept escalating further and further upwards.
Yeah.
It's funny because they ended up not getting into racing. It was a bit.
So, of course, the reason also we wanted to get you on is because you're not that far away from me.
Mm-mm.
Of course, you're from Ann Arbor, which is, just, 20 minutes away from where I live. And of course, I mean, not many racers are from this area. I mean, yes, Brad Keselowski is from Rochester Hills. Yes, Eric Jones is from Byron. Of course, Carson Hocevar is from Portage. And yes, Brian Herta is from Michigan as well. But not many, not many racers are doing what you're doing.
Yeah. I mean, for the most part, there haven't been many professional racing drivers from kind of the southern areas of Michigan, especially not in like, so for me, it's kind of not taking the oval route. And I think the majority of racing drivers that have been from Michigan have gone the NASCAR route, which is kind of completely the opposite of what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
So
Exactly. So I know that, you got into I know you're, IndyCar and IMSA. So you grew up on that. Of course, have gone down to Detroit several times. The weirdest thing is I know you've gone to MIS for a few other things, but you haven't been there for a NASCAR race.
nope. Oddly enough, I have not, which is funny because it's probably 40 minutes from my house.
Yeah, that's the weirdest thing. You're only 40 minutes away.
Yeah.
We
I,
gotta
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Never found, I should say, found the time or um, ended up going to a NASCAR race there.
Okay, we gotta get you. Well, all right, we gotta get you down there for a race at some point.
Yeah.
Um, so, taking away from the experiences that you've had, what was it like to be a part of it? Because, talking with William, the three of you guys really, just fit so perfectly with each other because you guys are alike, you guys are opposites too, and all that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was, I mean, being a part of it, like, I think it almost felt as something that is at least the first time that I've been a part of something that felt kind of bigger than just me, right? We're going over and we have all these amazing, the Team USA has all these amazing partners and sponsors that really help make it happen and kind of allow us to connect with different people throughout the paddock. So it feels like something that is bigger than just you, right? At a young age, like young, early into your racing careers, usually it's just focused on yourself. So I think it was cool to put into that perspective, and also just like you said, living with the two for probably, I think it was 40 days, was for sure something different. Like I think I loved every minute of it. Obviously, you're going to have your little arguments when you're spending every single hour of the day with someone, but I think all three of us were quite polar opposites. So I think in some weird way, we got on quite well because of it, just because we were so different.
Yeah, it's they always say opposites attract. So, what will okay? So name like what I know you've had a lot of stories from your trip there. So tell me one of the best stories from the three of you.
From the three of us, just as a group, or
just like, is there like a memorable moment that the three of you had?
I mean, I think the one that stands out is just all of that. I wouldn't say it's one specific moment, but just all the times that we would, like, all the adventures we had. So for example, Ilmore, we ended up, we went to, sorry, Multimatic. Ilmore, we had a car ride too, but Multimatic, we had a 2 hour or hour tour around there, and we ended up being gone from Milton Keynes. We left at 7 o'clock and got back at 7 o'clock for a 1 hour tour.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we probably a 3 hour train ride there, 3 hour train ride back, and then waiting and all this different. So I would say more just kind of the little adventures that we had, right? That was what made it so fun. And I couldn't really say a specific story, but I think it was just the little adventures throughout.
So talk about, I know the flight back from England was interesting. So okay, so kind of document that, because that's a day within itself. I mean, flying back from another country, unless you're flying back from Canada, is a day within itself.
Yeah.
So kind of explain your flight back.
Wasn't great. But I think the one thing I had going for me was I was so loopy because I'd been up, I don't even know when, but I was so loopy from the previous 2 days getting ready to leave that I didn't fall asleep that much on the flight. But even then, I was so out of it that it didn't really feel like a long flight. Obviously, 9 hours is 9 hours, but it was just a bit of passing time, and you don't really know where it went.
Were you guys all on the same flight?
No.
That'd have been funny if you all were.
Yeah, I think the fact that Thomas lives in Ohio and Williams in California made that quite difficult. But yeah.
I mean, here's the thing though, like the connector flight back to like the United States or something.
Yeah.
There's a connector flight, I don't know, maybe if you were all on one back to like, New York or something like that.
Yeah.
You probably I mean, the thing is, it's like, if I know DTW, there's a direct flight to England.
Yeah. Yeah, it was quite nice having a direct flight. So it was DTW to London Heathrow. So it's quite nice not having to, have a connecting flight. I was quite happy with that one.
I know Tom. I think Thomas had one, and I believe,
he did.
And I know William had a few.
Yeah, I was quite happy not having to to swap.
Okay, so let me ask you this: how long did it take you to get readjusted back to here?
About 5 days ish. I think realistically, I think maybe 1 or 2 days, but like to get fully readjusted, probably 5 days.
Yeah.
Which was great because I ended up leaving for Vegas in 6 days after I landed. But yeah, I think it takes maybe a day or two to get like somewhat adjusted, and then a little bit longer to like fully feel at home again.
Right.
Yeah.
And so now that leads me to this question: what's next?
Still trying to put together what comes in next season.
Well, like kind of talk about like what you want to do.
I mean, I think the thing that I've been thinking about is, I mean, there's a few big routes. One, the road to Indy side of things, and then kind of what goes on in England for their single seater stuff. And then I think those are the two most clear paths, but there are also other ways to get into professional motorsports that I've been kind of looking into. But I think the most realistic is probably something in England with the Formula Fords. But it's hard to say. I think that the big thing about England is just the track time, because a lot of the US is restricted testing, and that's not the same overseas.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think just getting a lot of time in a car is going to be quite helpful, especially because I've done maybe 5 weekends in a car up to this point, including what happened in England. So,
and also last thing I probably should ask this: what are you going to remember about this experience that you had?
What am I going to remember? I think what I'll remember most is, obviously, it's a cool experience getting to drive race cars in England for a month and living there. But I think what will stand out most when I'm looking back on it is the people that I've met. I would say the people that I met, like the whole team at Ammonite, all the people involved in the Team USA scholarship I would say stand out more so. And then just, everything that you learn. But I think I'll be looking back at, a little memory here or a little memory there, and less of, oh, I wish this one session at the Walter Hayes Trophy or the Formula Ford Festival had gone differently. I think it's going to be more just looking back on it with all the memories that I made from the people in Team USA, as well as the whole Ammonite Motorsports team.
All right. Well, Elliott Budzinski, thank you so much for coming on and talking with us, and best of luck. And we'll maybe have you on again when you announce your plans for next year.
Thank you.